which has so far produced 24 state governors out of the 28 states on the schedule.
The 2023 general elections came with a mixed bag of anxiety and expectation from the citizens and the political class. It showcased a series of contests in which 18 political parties actively participated. Many described the process as not only competitive, but a veritable testing ground for the nation's democratic maturity.
Those who partake in the exercise at the governorship, state assembly election level, they had played to a very large extent by the rules of the game. There were less violence, there were less ballot snatching, except for a few incidents that you cannot rule out.
In the past, we've seen a situation whereby the sitting government, the incumbents, always have the final say. But this time around, the electorates, their vote really counts.
March 18 proved to be another remarkable day in the nation's political history. On this day, for the 7th time, Nigerian voters through the ballot took the decision to elect governors and members of the state houses of assembly for another 4 years, in line with the nation's maximum of 2 terms system. Some incumbents have been elected for a second term to complete 8 years in office, except in the 8 states where off-cycle elections will hold at a later date. The exercise took place in 28 states, even though winners are still being expected in Kebbi and Adamawa states, where the exercise has been declared inconclusive, and in Abia and Enugu states, where the process have been put on hold by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Only the governing All Progressives Congress, the main opposition People's Democratic Party, and the New Nigerian People's Party have so far gotten state government house occupancy in the 24 states where the exercise has been concluded.
And those people that they've emerged as our leader today, that they should just have pity upon us. The suffering in Nigeria is too much.
Let us do things right to justify our belief in the country. We owe a debt to this country. No other person that could put this country right other than us.
I don't know why there should be a struggle. As some of them that are privileged to enter, they should be able to rule well, so that what they keep on ground should be able to speak for them.
As at Tuesday, 21st March 2023, leading the winners table is the All Progressives Congress, having won in Cross River, Ebonyi, Gombe, Jigawa, Katsina, Kwara, Lagos, Nasarawa, Niger, Ogun, Sokoto, Yobe, Benue, Borno, and Kaduna State, while the People's Democratic Party won in Akwa Ibom, Bauchi, Oyo, Plateau, Delta, Rivers, Taraba, and Zamfara State. The New Nigerian People's Party won in Kano, the state with highest voter turnout in the 2023 general elections. The position of many Nigerians is that politicians as key actors have a role in managing post-election activities by being in the forefront of processes that will engender unity and healing by exhibiting the true spirit of sportsmanship in the interest of the nation's democracy. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has denounced an online report accusing its chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, of attempts to violate its guidelines and consequently distort the governorship election result in Abia State. Chief Press Secretary to the INEC chairman, Rotimi Oyekomi, in a statement notes that the only communication sent to the state returning officer was the commission's directive suspending further collation of results. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, never called the returning officer to give her a directive. Rather, the returning officer wanted the official communication on the commission's decision to suspend the collation of results in Abia State. The chairman then directed that, pending the delivery of the hard copies, the soft copies of the commission's letter be forwarded immediately to the resident electoral commissioner of Enugu State and the administrative secretary of Abia State. The statement added. In the same vein, President Muhammadu Buhari says given the non-interference in the conduct of the free and fair 2023 elections, Nigerians have proved to be capable of deciding who leads them. Speaking at a farewell audience with the outgoing U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, the president expressed satisfaction with remarkable passion exhibited by Nigerians through the choices they made, saying Nigeria's democracy has truly matured. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu feeds us.
President Muhammadu Buhari said although he is unhappy that some candidates lost in the just concluded elections, it is however inspiring that people now realizing their power were able to freely make their own decisions. With the inadequate cash flow as a result of the currency change, the electorate, he said, voted conscientiously. President Buhari told the outgoing U.S. envoy that he is completely satisfied with his own role in the election process, as there was neither meddlesome nor any form of interference. The American ambassador, Mary Beth Leonard, said she is happy with the progress made in Nigeria-U.S. relations, especially the recent institution of a 5-year visa regime between the two countries, active collaboration in security and the supply of military hardware, including warplanes and soon-to-come fighter helicopters, as well as the cooperation in the health sector. She expressed her gratitude and that of the United States government in the continuing role of the president in ensuring regional security and strengthening of democracy as a system of government, citing his strong response against the recent surge in coup d'etat in West Africa as worthy of commendation. She expressed the hope that even as he is preparing to leave, there are still a few more things the president could do, amongst which she mentioned the urgent need to remove fuel subsidy. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The United States has expressed concern about the acts of violence and voter intimidation in the just concluded 2023 governorship and state houses of assembly elections. The U.S. government, in a press statement issued this Tuesday, called on Nigerian authorities to hold accountable and bring to justice any individual found to have ordered or carried out efforts to intimidate voters and suppress voting during the election process. The United States said it will consider all available actions, including additional visa restrictions on individuals believed to be responsible for or complicit in undermining the democratic process in Nigeria. The United States renews its call for any challenges to election results to go through established legal processes, which must not be interfered with. This is NTA Network News. More reports on the just concluded election after the break. Please stay.
Plan for whatever you want on YouTube, just like the Airtel Super Binge plan. Dial *141 *514 hash to enjoy.
One second.
First few flops don't count.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Are you a dealer in cars, jewelry, precious metals and stones and luxury goods? Are you into real estate, or are you an estate agent, surveyor, valuer, developer or broker? Are you into the hospitality industry, lottery business, or are you a mortgage broker, tax consultant, or an accountant? Do you have a supermarket, pools betting and consulting, or construction company?
If you have,
go and obtain your certification from the Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering, SCUMOL, and be free to do your business within the ambits of the law. SCUMOL has the responsibility to monitor, supervise, and regulate the activities of designated non-financial business and professions, DNFBPs, across the country. Please note that the SCUMOL certificate is not a guarantee of legitimacy of any business. To register, visit www.scumol.org. For collection of certificate, visit any EFCC office nearest to you. Remember, registration is free.
SCUMOL, securing Nigeria's business environment.
This message is from Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Why do we do it? Hide, cover up, tone down. Choose boldness. Celebrate the skin you're in and dress with confidence with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion, the triple layered care of deep moisture serum, precious cocoa butter, and vitamin E. Enriches your skin for 48 hours. It's time to show off your best skin. Wear your skin with pride every time with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion.
We are committed to the unity of our great country, Nigeria.
Let us support our armed forces. Let us stand together with them. Let us stand for them.
Our symbol of unity,
the gallant men and women of the armed forces
on land, air, and sea,
who have continuously put their life on the line, protecting our lives, humanity, and nationhood.
Let us join them and stick together as one,
irrespective of
our misunderstanding, be it political, cultural, or ideological.
Our uniqueness is our oneness, our strength is our diversity.
Let us stand by, stand with, and support our armed forces to keep this nation together.
Nigeria is my own. Nigeria is your own. Nigeria is our own.
The management of the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, hereby announces that the foundation-laying ceremony of the NASENI solar cell production line, Gora, Nasarawa State, earlier stated for Thursday, 23rd March 2023, has been rescheduled to hold Friday, 24th March 2023. The agency regrets any inconveniences this may have caused our invited guests. All guests are to be seated by 10 a.m. prompt. Attendance is strictly by invitation. Announcer Management.
The Federal Ministry of Water Resources, in collaboration with stakeholders in the water sector, invites the general public to the 2023 World Water Day celebration on the 22nd of March 2023 with the theme Accelerating Change, aimed at promoting awareness on the extent to which water resources development contributes to economic productivity and social well-being. Activities lined up to mark the event are as follows. Wednesday, 22nd March 2023, sensitization work from UTC Plaza, Area 10, Garki, to Federal Ministry of Water Resources, Garki Area 1, Abuja. Time, 7 a.m. Press briefing, same day at Chelsea Hotel, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. Mrs. Didi Esther Wilson Jack, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water Resources, Announcer.
Welcome back. The House of Representatives says the amendments to the Electoral Act by the 9th National Assembly have been instrumental in improving Nigeria's electoral process through the use of technology for accreditation and transmission of results. Resuming plenary after the governorship in States Assembly elections, House members were emphatic that an objective assessment of the 2023 elections showed remarkable improvement from the past. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
After each election cycle, gaps are identified and changes are initiated for improvements. It is with this line of thought that House members reconvened plenary, having put the amended Electoral Act to the major test. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila says a fair assessment may not suggest perfection of the process, but fair play is among acknowledgements that cannot be taken away from the entire process.
We need time and the deliberate efforts of political, religious, and social and economic leaders acting in recognition of the fact that while elections will come and go, our highest imperative remains the progress of Nigeria and the prosperity of her people.
The Speaker also expressed commitments of the legislature to pass the Electoral Offences Commission Establishment Bill for enforcement against violators as they undermine electoral and constitutional provisions. Political empowerment for women and other marginalized groups is another area of focus in the few months left for the 9th National Assembly.
National building is also a joint effort. Every significant advancement is the product of collaborative efforts by numerous people acting in different capacities.
Other features at plenary include first reading of 6 bills, while 2 other bills passed second reading. These include the bill to amend National Identity Management Commission.
Okay, Section 27 of the Principal Act is what we are amending. It's actually in operation by the executive. We're only giving it the legal backing.
The House adopted 2 resolutions, the first from Uyime Idem, calling for adoption of measures to curb train mishaps across the country.
In spite of these unfortunate trends, which are as a result of the carelessness of some individuals, no one has ever been held to account for the unfortunate loss of lives.
House member Muhammad Al-Ghali urges the rehabilitation of highways in Jos Plateau State. Meanwhile, the House Committee on Public Accounts has submitted a report on the bill seeking the establishment of an independent office of the Auditor General for the Federal Capital Territory Area Councils. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Red Chamber has applauded President Muhammadu Buhari for assenting to the 16 constitutional alteration bills, describing it as one of the major achievements of the 9th National Assembly. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports as Senate reconvenes after election break.
Senators are back to the chamber after the rescheduled governorship and state houses of assembly elections. President of the Senate Ahmed Lawal welcomed his colleagues and commended President Muhammadu Buhari for assenting to 16 constitutional alteration bills.
With the financial independence of state houses of assembly and state judiciary are very, very critical for the development of democracy in Nigeria. In fact, for good governance as well.
He explained that the National Assembly will constitute a committee that will liaise with the executive to find out why 19 other constitution amendment bills did not receive presidential assent.
Maybe there are a few explanations that could be made and then they will be okay. And we will do that almost immediately because time is of essence. We shouldn't think that the time is too tight. I think even if it is one day that we have left, we should do our best. Where the issues are too much to handle, I think the next assembly, the 10th National Assembly, should be able to attend to such issues.
Senate received presidential requests for the confirmation of 7 nominees for appointment as members of the governing board of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, with Abdul Karim Mobalaji as chairman. The National Human Rights Commission Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill, Nigerian Building and Roads Research Institute Bill, the Federal Medical Center Uli Anambra State Establishment Bill and the Orthopedic Hospital Ihitu Boma Establishment Bill were passed. The Chief Whip of the Senate, Oji Uzo Kalu, has described the Electoral Act 2022 as a work in progress. He was speaking when he briefed Senate correspondents on the just concluded general elections across the country.
What I would like to see with my colleagues is for us to go for electronic voting, so that where people like in India, it might not be automatic by electricity, it might be manual. You just punch the button, so nobody is doing anything with paperwork.
The Senate Chief Whip also urged the ruling All Progressives Congress to zone the position of the President of the Senate to the southeast. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, has dissociated himself from a fake Twitter account being used to spread fake news and pass negative comments on the Adamawa and Zamfara governorship elections. Director of Information, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassi, in a statement says Boss Mustafa's attention has been drawn to a fake Twitter handle bearing his name, which has been used to make unsavory comments on the governorship candidates of APC in Adamawa and Zamfara states. The SGF wishes to state categorically that he does not own or operate any Twitter handle by such username and therefore calls on Nigerians to disregard negative comments made with such username on Twitter against the persons of the governor of Zamfara State and the governorship candidate of APC in Adamawa State. He finds it mischievous for any person to attach his name to a fake user account. The SGF therefore cautions Twitter users to always endeavor to verify Twitter handles before responding to posts of any sort. President Muhammadu Buhari rejoices with distinguished banker, economist and philanthropist Tony Elumelu on the 60th birthday, March 22, 2023, sharing joy and warmth of the occasion with the entrepreneur who was ranked amongst the world's 100 most influential personalities in 2020 by Time. President Buhari felicitates with Chairman of the United Bank of Africa, UBA Group, on the milestone, affirming the honor and pride that the benefactor has brought to Nigeria and Africa with his achievements, lighting the way for many to grow through inspiration, mentorship and training, with focus on raising generation of entrepreneurs. Now, looking at other issues, authorities in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia announced that the crescent moon that will signal the commencement of fasting has not been sighted this Tuesday. Subsequently, Ramadan, the first day of fasting in the kingdom, starts Thursday, 23rd of March, 2023. In Nigeria, the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs has asked Muslims to look for the new moon of Ramadan 1444 after Hijrah on Wednesday, 22nd of March, 2023. Sighting of the new moon to be reported through the numbers displayed on the screen for onward communication to the Sultan. Now, on the elections, President-elect Bola Tinubu says after Nigerian electorate have voted to elect their governors and state legislators that will serve them for the next 4 years, attention must now be directed towards proper leadership and governance. On a statement, the president-elect says, as the elected, the only way to justify the trust and confidence of the people and the mandate entrusted in them is to commit to the service of the people. He also expresses readiness to work with all the elected state governors as president, promising to be a worthy partner they can trust and rely on as we all bond together in unity of purpose and renewed hope for the betterment of the country and her people. The president-elect, however, expresses sadness over the reported isolated infractions during the elections and its aftermath in some states, saying the report of arson after the announcement of governorship results in one state did not represent who Nigerians truly are as peace-loving people. President-elect commended President Muhammadu Buhari, INEC, security agencies, observer groups, civil society organizations, development partners, and the electorate for the success of the elections, which he said is pivotal to the growth and sustenance of democracy and democratic governance. Now, time to join Lagos, where Adiola is standing by for more news. Adiola, it's over to you.
Thank you, Yere. 11 suspects arrested for alleged electoral and criminal offences during the just concluded 2023 general elections are to be prosecuted in Lagos State. They are among the 19 suspects paraded by the police at the State Criminal Investigation Department, Panti, Yaba, Lagos. Hadani Taiwo reports.
24 cases of electoral and criminal infractions were recorded during the second round of elections in Lagos on March 18. Of the number, 3 male suspects arrested in Ibishe, Badagry and Oworonshoki are to be handed over to INEC for prosecution for breaching provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, while 2 others were nabbed for criminal acts including unlawful possession of fake electoral materials. Parading the suspect at the State CID, Pantiyaba, Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Odein says exhibits, including PVCs, ballot papers and boxes, were recovered from many of them.
We're taking them to the force headquarters Abuja, following the instruction of the Inspector General of Police. All state commands will do likewise, and centrally at the headquarters they will be handed over to INEC.
5 other suspects earlier arrested during the presidential and National Assembly elections bring the total number of violators to be handed over to INEC to 8, while a criminal suspect, Adamashaun Kabiru, apprehended for being in unlawful possession of firearms during the first round of elections, will also face criminal prosecution from the police. The police spokesman also assured that the command is investigating viral videos of some people who reportedly threatened voters in the build-up to governorship election in the state.
All over the social media, we've been seeing old videos being brought up again and lies being peddled that some people have been attacked.
Meanwhile, 13 other suspected criminals were paraded for offences ranging from armed robbery, cultism, communal clash to armed robbery. The PPRO advised mobile phone users to be steps ahead of phone robbers by putting SIM lock on their SIM cards in order to prevent illegal transactions on their bank accounts. In Lagos, Adeni Itaiwo, NTA News.
Lagos High Court, sitting at Tafawa Balewa Square Annex, has granted the bail application of Dr. Ejike Oji, who is serving 1-year jail term for causing bodily harm to his patient through negligence and criminal breach of duty. The post-conviction bail application was granted in the sum of 2 million naira with 2 sureties and presentation of the record of appeal filed by the defendant at the appeal court. Joel Popola has that report.
Dr. Ejike Oji was sentenced to 1-year imprisonment by the Lagos High Court on January 20, 2023 after he was found guilty on 4 out of the 6 count charges bordering on medical negligence and misconduct, which left his patient with a devastating condition that required more than 15 surgeries in Nigeria and United States of America to save his leg from amputation. Dissatisfied with the ruling, Dr. Oji filed an appeal on the 27th of January 2023, asking the appeal court to set aside the judgment of the High Court pending the hearing and determination of his appeal. Justice Iberunke Arinsin in her ruling said the medical claims of hypertension and adrenal tumor the applicant is using to buttress his bail application lacks merit. Counsel to the defendant Ajibola Ariba, however, urged the court to consider the fact that the appeal court is already saturated with appeals, and being an election year, the defendant may complete his sentence before his appeal is determined. Justice Arinsin granted the bail application on this ground. Tunde Sumonu from the Department of Public Prosecution, Lagos State, had earlier opposed the bail application in previous hearing. The patient's father, Mr. Isioma Ezeashi, says his only son has been through harrowing experiences and therefore wants justice.
I've now turned to be the bad guy because I'm pursuing justice for my son. People are calling me, making all sorts of vile threats to me, which doesn't bother me.
While the legal tussle continues, Mr. Ezeashi says it is important to pursue it to a logical conclusion to prevent a reoccurrence of such agony.
This is a young boy of 16. It has changed the course of his life. We're talking of a man who is above 65, and people are talking about bail. What of a boy who is 16, who hasn't even started his life, who has barely used one leg now?
Mr. Ezeachi is taking solace in God for keeping his son alive despite all the travails. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
And that's it from Lagos. Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. The news will continue after this time out with Nyere in Abuja again. Do stay.
Every day, life presents hopes, dreams, and challenges. Challenges that can become successes with a little help. Because a little help can empower you to go from despair to celebration. A little help can keep you going until the race is won. A little help can turn bundles of anxiety into a bundle of joy. And with Glow Data, you get much more than just a little help. You get the biggest data deals in town to make every day glow with small wins and big wins. Dial *777# to select your Glow Data plan.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You see as it be now, they call me but no be me show. That's how some business owners will have a different name on their business account from the actual business name. Listen, don't let your customers be suspicious of your business. Sign up a business account with Money Points and get an account in your business name in minutes.
Whatever it takes to make sure you have a business account opened in your business name, we'll do it as your sure banker. Open a bank account in your business name with Money Point.
Helen Paul!
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains removal. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning.
Wow! Now I'm convinced, Helen Paul.
Really?
Yeah!
The next house is yours.
Hey, Chidi! See your son. Okay, you don't listen.
Looking fresh for your dates? Get even fresher with Close Up. New Close Up Triple Fresh formula. It cleans deeply, fights 99% of bacteria, and cools intensely, keeping you protected and fresh.
Protected and fresh. Protected and fresh.
Let's take a picture.
Protected and fresh.
Still fresh, still protected.
Feeling cool and protected.
All day confidence to get close.
Oh, yeah, take it close up, short to close.
New Close Up Triple Fresh formula.
Raining season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol Soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol Soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol Show.
When life gets busy, you can always rely on GoTV to make things a little easier. Upgrade to the next package and we'll boost you to a higher package for free. GoTV. Love it.
Welcome back. Calls for unity and peaceful coexistence among Nigerians of different ethnicities, political leanings and groupings have even now become more imperative as tensions subsist in parts of the country over the March 18 governorship election. These words, "There is only one country, one Nigeria and one people," have become the rallying call for those who believe the general elections are a test of the people's faith in Nigeria's collective destiny, and that the country will ultimately overcome if the people pull together at this point in time. Elizabeth Omori tells us more.
The general elections have come, but maybe not all done yet, with complications of results suspended in few states and declared inconclusive in at least one. And as much as these round of elections have been interesting, they have also given rise to concerns, mostly tethering on Nigeria's unity.
The winners and losers of the elections should be able to put also themselves together to realize that the peace and unity of this country is far greater than the ambition of any individual. And people, and also they should also know that people are now at least a little bit much more politically aware than ever.
While elections are also considered a robust arena of varying opinions, analysts are often quick to point out that the idea is to engender an atmosphere that ensures development. And though the outcomes of elections are as important as the processes that lead to them, the ultimate gainers are often said to be the people, Nigerians in this instance.
We have to unite ourselves as one people, irrespective of our ethnic differences, religious differences. We should rise above hate.
In spite of the festering tension in some parts of the country, the last round of elections have also seen good signs of sportsmanship. In Niger State, for instance, some of those who contested and lost in the governorship election already conceded and congratulated the winner. Many say, in a country where public good is uppermost, elections can never be a winner takes it all, as the people would always be the winner. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Now, looking at the economy, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says Nigerian banks remain strong and resilient, and none is affected by the banking crisis that has led to the collapse of banks in Europe and America. The Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, at the Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja, said this, as well as announced hike in interest rate to 18%. Musa Abubakar reports.
In the domestic economy,
this is the second consecutive time this year that the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN had voted to increase interest rate from 17.5% to 18%. Considering its various decisions in increasing monetary policy rate, which had led to deceleration in inflation, the committee observed that headline inflation remained high with increased expectation of price development due to scarcity of petrol and ongoing discourse around removal of fuel subsidy, amongst other factors. This informed the decision to further increase the rate.
While output growth remains on a positive trajectory, members called for increased monetary and fiscal coordination to support the recovery in the light of risks confronting the domestic economy. To this end, committee enjoined fiscal authority to explore other avenues to improve non-oil revenue to reduce the fiscal deficit and public debt.
The governor assured the public that Nigerian banks have adequate buffers to ward off global contagion caused by bank failures.
The financial stability indicators in Nigeria show that the Nigerian banking system remains resilient due largely to the stringent prudential guidelines put in place by the CBN, which has resulted in a strong build-up of not only the cash reserve ratio deposit in Nigeria, but also liquidity ratio and capital adequacy ratios.
The committee said that more than 900 billion naira is the available money in circulation, while it continues to increase the supply of the newly redesigned naira notes. Cash reserve ratio is retained at 32.5%, liquidity ratio at 30%, and asymmetric corridor at plus 100 and minus 700 basis points around the MPR. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
Meanwhile, despite recirculation of the old naira notes by banks to ease shortage of money supply, the cash crunch experienced in Abuja still persists. Now, let's join our business correspondent, Boside Ebo, for an update on cash availability.
For this senior citizen, the constant loan queues at the bank is unacceptable, which, according to him, has posed health challenge for him in obtaining cash to fend for his family.
I can't imagine me doing transactions and I cannot have cash to do the transactions. And they tell us over the news that old currency is now about over 200 people have entered, coming out without nothing. Without nothing. It's disgusting. It's appalling.
Since morning number 90, for more than 2 hours they've not called to call, and they are smuggling in their people inside. So it's not fair. In fact, it has not been easy. Since morning 5 a.m. I've been here. We don't have access to the bank. You can see everybody outside. So it's so uncalled for. Government should do something about it, please.
So people will be sick. Doctors will not collect transfer. Even the transfer, the network is not going. They cannot work on network for people to live a better life. They are saying cashless economy. People send money, their money will be hanging. Some persons now, they don't know where their money is. You go to the bank will tell you that their money is not there. And the money is not in your account, then who is holding the money?
These aggrieved citizens are calling on government and bank authorities to avert further damage as well as prefer workable solutions to the financial strain. Cecilia Julius, NTA News.
That report was by Cecilia, not Basade Ebo, as earlier mentioned. Let's now have Benny Adams with more business reports. Benny.
Thank you and welcome to Business. Ahead of Nigeria's participation in the African continental market, stakeholders say validating and adopting pragmatic policies and approaches to overcome obstacles in order to reap the benefits of the global market is the way to go. They are assessing the current situation of services like communications, transport, postal and courier services, retail and distribution. Others are environmental health, financial, education services, tourism and recreational services, with a view to positioning the above for better returns on investment.
Services that you can consume abroad, like tourism, you have to travel abroad. There are some services that you can export through commercial presence, like a Nigerian bank establishing in Ghana. Or there are some services that are just cross-border, or this telecommunication, just make a phone call.
The services sector is increasingly an enabler for the export, for the development of the manufacturing sector.
According to the World Bank, since 1990, the economic growth underpinned by better trade policies and practices has lifted more than 1 billion people out of poverty.
And to the markets, equities market sees first gain this week amid the NPR hike, rising by 0.03%. At the end of today's trading session, a total of 127.7 million shares in 2,987 deals, corresponding to a market value of 1.586 billion naira, were traded. Compared with the previous trading day, Monday, today's data shows 89% decline in volume, 45% decline in turnover, and 3% decline in deals. The current market capitalization is 29.9 trillion naira. United Bank for Africa recorded the highest volume of 19.6 million traded shares, followed by Transcorp Nigeria 14.4 million and Fidelity Bank 12.7 million shares. Well, that is business news, but network news continues after this break.
Do not like overconfident women.
Don't touch me without my permission.
I'm a playful guy and I do get carried away sometimes.
You are selfish, manipulative, and you are a narcissist.
After all I've done for you.
What have you done for me?
You actually called me barren.
You know my mom doesn't know any better, right?
You say that now, but then when you see your mother, you start to act like you're deaf and dumb.
You were supposed to be more careful.
I've been.
Clearly not enough.
Efficiency and quality. National Center for Women Development. A home away from home. With our newly renovated rooms and conference facilities, the facility has a standard, single, and double rooms. We are second to none in Abuja and uncomparable to none. We also have a standby power source. Visit us today at the National Center for Women Development, Central District area, opposite Central Bank of Nigeria Headquarters, Abuja, or telephone 070-511-1163, or visit our website www.ncwd.gov.ng. National Center for Women Development, rebranding, restructuring, and repositioning.
Mommy, it is time for us to leave this place.
One of your earrings is missing.
No one will find it.
I'm not willing to take that chance.
Have a big plan, Mommy.
What do you want?
I want a senior position at the bank.
If anything happens to me, go through the content of this envelope and check every single thing.
It's done. No one will ever find out the truth.
Glad to have you back. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the exemption of digital economy sector from 5% excise duty. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Issa Pantami, who gave the cheering news, says this will boost activities in the telecom industry. Chimdema Ndubisi will tell us more.
41 categories of taxes, levies and charges, some by the federal government, others state government. These are the financial obligations telecommunication operators in Nigeria have been living up to. So, 105% excise duty was proposed to be introduced on both prepaid and postpaid telecom services. It was quite challenging for the industry. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy also rose to defend his turf, and on September 5th, 2022, imposition of the duty was suspended. So, a presidential review committee was set up to study the situation and advise the president accordingly.
I am glad to say and to report to Nigerians that His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has approved the exemption of the digital economy sector from the 5% excise duty to be paid.
The cost of data now has come down further to 335 naira. We have an additional one undersea cable that has landed. Bringing, additional data into the country.
With this, owners of micro and small business enterprises such as Grace, who rely on the ICT sector for survival, will have a breather, knowing that they will not bear the brunt of the proposed tax. Nigerians are to report mobile network operators charging exorbitant prices for data. In Abuja, Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
Goods worth millions of naira this Tuesday were destroyed following a fire disaster at a section of the main market, Onitsha. Information from traders revealed that the fire started at the early hours and though no life was lost, several shops within the area were destroyed. Men of the fire service from neighboring Delta State intervened and put out the fire. Let's now have a bit of sports news.
Ahead of the 2023 African Cup of Nations qualifiers between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and Guinea-Bissau national football team on Friday at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, players in camp had their first training session Monday evening with coach Jose Pacero in charge of proceedings. With 6 maximum points from 2 previous games, a victory for the Super Eagles will put them in pole position to qualify for the 2023 African Cup of Nations.
They play other day. 2 days before for that area. It's the program, it's the schedule. It's impossible you join the players at the same time like in the other campings.
Meanwhile, ahead of match day 3 against the Super Eagles of Nigeria in the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, the Guinea-Bissau men's national football team players are expected in Abuja on Wednesday for the crucial encounter. 2 women's football, Nigeria's senior women's football team, the Super Falcons, will face 2 teams that will feature at the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup during their upcoming campaign exercise in Turkey in April. The 9-time African women champions will take on Women's World Cup debutants Haiti and the tournament's co-host New Zealand in a 3 international friendlies at the Madan Sports Complex at Antalya next month. The Super Falcons' first match will be against Haiti on April 7. Still on women's football, the Nigerian Women Football League will return on Wednesday with Week 10 fixtures, which will see Nasarawa Amazons take on FC Robo, Abia Angels welcomes Ibom FC, while Conference Queens will play host to Edo Queens in Group B. On the local scene, the Interim Management Committee of the Nigerian Football Professional Football League says it believes the country's representative in the CAF Confederations Cup, Rivers United, has all what it takes to win the tournament. Head of operations of the committee, Davison Onwumi, congratulated the team for getting to the quarterfinal stage of the continental tournament. Onwumi also commended the team's technical crew and management, saying the results could not have been possible without adequate motivation. With Sports Update, Gift George, NTA News.
And that concludes NTA Network News tonight. Many thanks for watching. Please remember that rape is a crime. Speak up and take action. I'm Ian Ray John. Have a good night.
This week on Executive Discuss.
You're taking on surgeries. Yes, every surgery comes with a measure of risk.
Absolutely.
But you're taking on transplants and surgeries that are high risk.
Absolutely.
Very, very high risk. And which, even for me, I didn't think were possible in Nigeria. How have you been able to achieve this?
What it was able to get together people of like minds and people with the necessary experience. Every single person, from the cleaner to the top surgeon, were all Nigerians. And I think that is a great testimony. For the kidney transplants we've continued here, and we've done almost 100, over the 3 years or so that we've been here.
Yeah.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the You Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Since I joined this program don't help me. They carry the money, give me. I take join with the money, carry go market. As you see now, my market now come be fine past before. These are asusu that we make. The money now come big fast. I take buy this thing, I feed buy what I am now, buy carry plantain. Before now only carry where they sell. But now I don't buy what I am at. Buy potatoes, cocoyam, and thank federal government. Then may God bless you now. Up, the child don't come.
candidates who are interested in gaining admission into NTA Television College JOS for the 2022-2023 two-year National Innovation Diploma Program are to apply for admission through the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board JAMB. Courses available at the college include Film and Television Production, Broadcast Journalism, and Television Engineering Technology. Interested candidates must have a minimum of 5 O-level credits in relevant subjects including English and mathematics. They must also have a minimum score of 100 in the 2022 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME). For more information, please contact NTA Television College JOS or the Marketing Department of any NTA station nationwide. Registrar, Announcer.
Dialogue, empathy, love and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain, a chant that is part of our education and ingrained in our hearts and minds from childhood as Nigerians. How much of thought do we give to this in our daily dealings, and particularly for political purposes when ethnic and religious drums sound loudly for selfish purposes of particularly politicians? How patriotic do we become to think Nigeria first as circumstances present? The necessity of this reasoning is expedient primarily when, as I said earlier, religious and ethnic fault lines challenge Nigeria's national unity. And this is the core of this edition of Dateline 360. I am Omotala Mojola. Thanks for tuning in. When people are identified as united, many times it speaks to shared values and targets for development, often codified in laws. Amalgamated in 1914, Nigeria and her citizens worked to advance despite our diverse ethnic backgrounds. Ifoma Ojenta, in our first report, takes a look at Nigeria's journey to nationhood and how well the country has fared in realizing set objectives as well as the challenges therein.
As Nigeria made plans for independence from colonialism in 1960, history had it that there was an optimistic outlook that the nation would become great. Many believed that a strong and united Nigeria could compete with other newly independent countries such as India and Ghana. The founding fathers and nationalists worked together, forging a common front towards independence, hoping that Nigeria would become a prominent black nation and even have the potential to become a first world country.
The necessity for a strong and viable state also count on the the strength of its unity, how united the people of that particular entity or state is. Because without unity, there will be no politically strong, viable nation or state per se. Why? Because there could be an outbreak of civil war, there could be treasonable felony, there will not be development drive, in that particular state without that particular united front. So that sense of unity serves as the paraphernalia for building a strong political entity.
However, 5 years after independence, a bloody coup gave way to a military government. This was followed by a counter-coup which led to a civil war that left millions dead.
If you go on and repeat the Nigeria-Biafra war today, it may not end in 10, 20 years. That's the point I'm making. So why go through such a horrendous experience, through such carnage? The Nigeria-Biafra war, we lost between 2 to 3 million, the combined loss on both sides, but mainly on the side of the Biafrans because the war was fought there. So if you want to repeat the process, you should be able to sacrifice 3 to 5 times that number.
Several attempts were made to restore civil rule before Nigeria finally returned to democratic governance in 1999. This achievement was made possible through the collective resolve and efforts of various socio-cultural groups and other social groups.
The socio-cultural structures in Nigeria that succeeded in wresting out the military rule in Nigeria, such as the Arewa Consultative Forum, the Afenifere and Ohaneze, we can still have a united front if these particular groupings can actually come together and work together firmly to actually re-establish proper governance and good governance in the country. Otherwise, they'll remain divisive as well as, symbols for even disuniting Nigerians.
It is 23 years since the return to democracy, and there are emerging challenges and agitations. However, stakeholders believe that achieving the Nigeria envisaged by the founding fathers is possible, only if
we need to return to where we were before the military intervention. See what can be done to recover that Republican Constitution, not in its entirety, but the principles inherent in it. Leaders, should do their utmost to advance unity of purpose, the interests of the country, be pro-masses.
There is no way you can forge a common front if you do not allow fairness, justice, and equity.
Now, how has Nigeria fared as a nation since her creation? The level of unity is the measure of the level of nationhood of a country. Are the people united, living together, working together for a common goal? The answers to these critical questions lies in the heart of the nation's existence as a corporate entity. For Dateline 360, it's Ifoma Ojinta.
Our founding fathers and the nationalists may not be entirely perfect in their approach to nationhood and the politics they played, but their intentions for the growth of the nation as a prosperous force on the continent is incontestable. A beacon of Nigeria's unity, Lagos stands tall in commerce and social integration. Disadvantaged nonetheless, Lagos is not a stranger to politics of ethnicity, and this played out more recently. Musa Toliat in our next piece looks at the peculiarity of Lagos politics and steps by political actors to ensure that, regardless of differences, the unity of the state is preserved.
In pre-colonial and post-colonial Nigeria, every region had its own dominant political party, and they derived their strength from the region they had strongholds. The successful transition from one civilian government to the other since 1999 has helped to nurture the country's nascent democracy. The outcome of the 2023 election in Lagos State is important to the rest of the country. not just because of the position of the state as the commercial nerve center of Nigeria, but because of the politics of unity that prevails over the political landscape across the metropolis.
Differences in political ideologies have always created some form of tension when a political party pushes an agenda to change the course of political history in Lagos State. The reason is not far-fetched. Sometimes such move is aimed at protecting the interest of ethnic nationalities across the metropolis. But political analysts are quick to say that such move should not be at the expense of unity in diversity, which of course defines Lagos as a home for all.
Those people who have come to Lagos but are not indigenous to Lagos, that have been making a living and paying their taxes in Lagos, always think about how they are supposed to participate in politics. Those people that are indigenous to Lagos also think about how they are supposed to participate in politics. Of course, for many of these people, the issue is always what should be our relationship to government. Are we supposed to be part of electing the government? Are we supposed to be part of the government? And these issues sometimes boil over.
When political parties strategize ahead of the elections in Lagos, the less fancied and weaker parties soon find their way into the fold of the dominant party and place their reasons on the doorsteps of politics of unity.
We are always taking divergent view or divergent paths. But one thing is, the end goal, the destination is always one: the progress and the development of Lagos State. That's the only binding virtue or creed or goal that binds us all.
Some electorates also look out for parties that place premium on unity above ethnic sentiments.
A political party that will think first of the masses, not just about their selfish ambition. That's what I look out for.
The objective sets down for the achievement of a better Lagos.
The most important is the unity, is to unite we Lagosians.
Political scientists believe that there is a uniting factor that cuts across all political divides.
And it is that economics, that attempt to make ends meet, which is facing every Lagosian, that keeps us together. And as we are doing all those things, the spirit of Lagos takes over. The spirit of survivor. Are you getting me? And it immediately overshadows the political differences that we hold.
Although the present political arrangement stems from what was obtained in the 1950s when political parties were established along ethnic divide, residents say they are more concerned about a political party that will come to power in Lagos State and make a difference in their lives. For Dateline 360, I am Musa Toliat.
That their educational deprivation is not the end of the world.
Agencies and stakeholders to proactively tackle these challenges.
Women in most countries of the world constitute about 50% of registered voters.
Henry Williams reporting for Dateline 360.
In Jos, Caleb Gochin, Dateline 360.
Dateline 360. Shidi Okrafo.
For Dateline 360.
In Lagos, Michael Olaleye.
Reporting for Dateline 360.
I am Omosola Omojola. Thanks for tuning in. Kaduna State, with 23 local government areas, is another state in Nigeria steep in history and home to diverse ethnic groups and political fronts. Sunday Adamu takes a look at the centrality of the state and how it has helped in building and strengthening the social, economic and political status of northern Nigeria and the nation as a whole.
Kaduna, as a state with divergent ethnic groups, is a home to people from all walks of life. Historically, Kaduna is the headquarters of northern Nigeria since the beginning of colonial rule till date.
Kaduna State is a major transportation hub and the gateway to the north and southern parts of the country.
The homogeneous nature of the state, where people with various ideas converge together, has helped in building and strengthening the social, economic, and political status of the state.
Politically speaking, the region was one, united, focused towards, unity, which was why the motto at that time of, Sardauna, and of course by extension the northern, region was unity in diversity, values, in service.
People coming from different walks of lives, different ethnic clans, different ethnic groups, different religions, and so on and so forth, to converge in a particular place brings in blessings. It is this very homogeneous nature of the setting of the town or the state that has maybe perhaps contributed tremendously to its growth and to the status it is.
Each and every person in northern region, no matter his own pedigree, either a retired public servant, a retired army officer, a retired high business tycoon, he will prefer to come and build his house in Kaduna or to live in Kaduna.
We are very cooperative. Those Igbo, Yoruba, Nupe, all of us, we are all in Nigeria, which we are eating together, do everything together. Christian and Muslim, we are all the same.
This liberality of Kaduna made it open to ideas, methodologies, and values. Being one of the few states in the country with more educational establishments, Kaduna is now home to many who are passionate about acquiring knowledge, industrial experience, and excellence.
It's perhaps the only state in the northern part of this country that has a standing petroleum refinery and the petrochemical industry as well. It is also the only part of the country for quite some time to have an assembly plant that assembles automobiles and a number of other things in terms of industrial prospects.
If you look at other important, significant, during the colonial period, you can see the Ahmed University, College Aviation area, and so many other important institutions. It was the NDA, the Nigerian Defense Academy. It was the only military training institution in Nigeria that trained our combatants, not only within Nigeria, even outside Nigeria. There is Jaji also. It's another training institution for the military. Therefore, there are so many important areas you can think of the significance of Kaduna politically, economically, and culturally.
The political division in the state has resulted in serious challenges, metamorphosing into political unrest, among others.
It has tremendously affected maybe perhaps the much expected growth of the state, and as well as the unity and the homogeneous nature of the state. The state had a turbulence experience within the last 19 years, if one would say, not to be too precise. The state had at one stage experienced a lot of religious violence.
We, the people, are creating the problems to ourselves. And the problem we are creating for ourselves is that no love.
Despite all these challenges, a politically united Kaduna stakeholders say is the future and hope of northern Nigeria, and indeed the nation as a whole.
Kaduna State is a mini Nigeria and a melting pot of all ethnic groups. If you've never been to Kaduna, try and visit the town and have a feel of it, and you will never regret it. In Kaduna, Adamu Sunday for Deadline 360.
Election is the exercise of democratic right to vote for leaders of one's choice. It is, however, expected that such leaders, after emerging, work to keep the country as one by delivering on good governance. As the 2023 elections end, Emmanuel Lene examines the role in fostering national unity.
Elections can sometimes be a source of dispute, mainly due to the winner-takes-it-all syndrome.
However, this does not take away the fact that the outcome of elections, especially the presidential election, which has a national outlook and cuts across ethnic and religious boundaries, has continued to provide a platform for national unity. For instance, the campaigns, stakeholders meetings, and other forms of activities by political parties geared towards gaining support are most often centered on things that can be beneficial to the entire country. At such points, depending on the capacity of the contestants, people tend to overlook the issue of origin and concentrate more on the bigger picture.
We have to have a change of mindset about elections. The truth is, if you remember, for instance, the presidential candidates, nearly all of them went around this country. Now, if they were around this country and then preaching unity and, understanding on how we can be together and then what we can do to come together, wouldn't that help foster national unity?
Leadership ought to be service. If it is all about service as it is done in other climes, you will not see people want to kill anybody because you want to serve. I don't think that would have been the case.
The desire of many is that leaders must put first national interest when elected, consider more Nigeria's unity, even in her diversity, and be magnanimous in victory. These, they say, will strengthen the bond of unity, create a more conducive atmosphere, and give everyone a sense of belonging. For them, the issue of hate speech, ballot box snatching, and other forms of electoral violence will continue to challenge the actualization of the vision of national unity and must be given due consideration.
After the election, people will now, contest the election in legal courts. The law gives that permission that people should now look at it critically. But it's supposed not to be so.
Nigeria is a multi-ethnic and multi-religious country. Many say Nigeria will be more united when leaders carry everybody along, irrespective of political, ethnic, or religious inclination. In Port Harcourt, Emmanuel Lene for Dateline 360.
As the popular saying goes, the task of keeping Nigeria one is the responsibility of all. Indeed, it behoves on everyone to work and work towards developing politics that unite rather than divisive politics. Please do your part. I am Omotola Omojola. Until next time, when we bring you another edition of the program, I say God bless you and bless our dear nation, Nigeria.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
This week on Executive Discuss.
You're taking on surgeries. Yes, every surgery comes with a measure of risk.
Absolutely.
But you're taking on transplants and surgeries that are high risk.
Absolutely.
Very, very high risk. And which, even for me, I didn't think were possible in Nigeria. How have you been able to achieve this?
What it was able to get together people of like minds and people with the necessary experience. Every single person, from the cleaner to the top surgeon, were all Nigerians. And I think that is a great testimony. For the kidney transplants we've continued here, and we've done almost 100, over the 3 years or so that we've been here.
Yeah.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Identity is very important. We cannot eliminate our culture. We have to first of all know where we come from. God is so wonderful that it makes me an ethnic man. If I speak, for some reason you know, oh, that's the Calabar man. If a Hausa man speaks, you usually know. That's the identity. So we should not joke with it. It's something that God had given us. So we don't know the reason why he happened that way, but it's very important. We have to preserve them.
This kind of event is like a wake-up call for...
Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. This week's program is an assessment of the just concluded 2023 general election and how the nation fared. That's in terms of INEC's performance and voter satisfaction. Two folds of separate elections from presidential and national assembly to governorship and state assembly, with upsets in some quarters. Now, the entire process was a mixed grill. That's speaking of the conduct at the various levels. When the elections all were done, governance is set to commence and time, as they say, to mend fences. But before we proceed with tonight's conversation, let's get to see this report put together by political correspondent Salihu Abdullahi Guanara.
The 2023 general elections came with a mixed bag of anxiety and expectation from the citizens and the political class. It showcased a series of contests in which 18 political parties actively participated. Many described the process as not only competitive, but a veritable testing ground for the nation's democratic maturity.
Those who partake in the exercise at the governorship, state assembly election level, they had played to a very large extent by the rules of the game. There were less violence, there were less ballot snatching, except for a few incidents that you cannot rule out.
In the past, we've seen a situation whereby the sitting government, the incumbents, always have the final say. But this time around, the electorates, their vote really counts.
March 18 proved to be another remarkable day in the nation's political history. On this day, for the 7th time, Nigerian voters through the ballot took the decision to elect governors and members of the state houses of assembly for another 4 years, in line with the nation's maximum of 2 terms system. Some incumbents have been elected for a second term to complete 8 years in office, except in the 8 states where off-cycle elections will hold at a later date. The exercise took place in 28 states, even though winners are still being expected in Kebbi and Adamawa states, where the exercise has been declared inconclusive, and in Abia and Enugu states, where the process have been put on hold by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Only the governing All Progressives Congress, the main opposition People's Democratic Party, and the New Nigerian People's Party have so far gotten state government house occupancy in the 24 states where the exercise has been concluded.
Let us do things right to justify our belief in the country. We owe a debt to this country.
no other person that could put this country right other than us.
I don't know why there should be a struggle. As some of them that are privileged to enter, they should be able to rule well, so that what they keep on ground should be able to speak for them.
As at Tuesday, 21st March 2023, leading the winners table is the All Progressives Congress, having won in Cross River, Ebonyi, Gombe, Jigawa, Katsina, Kwara, Lagos, Nasarawa, Niger, Ogun, Sokoto, Yobe, Benue, Borno, and Kaduna State, while the People's Democratic Party won in Akwa Ibom, Bauchi, Oyo, Plateau, Delta, Rivers, Taraba, and Zamfara State. The New Nigerian People's Party won in Kano, the state with highest voter turnout in the 2023 general elections. The position of many Nigerians is that politicians as key actors have a role in managing post-election activities by being in the forefront of processes that will engender unity and healing by exhibiting the true spirit of sportsmanship in the interest of the nation's democracy. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara.
All right, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. I'd like to introduce our guests. I'd like to welcome to this program Ezenwa Nwagu, is Chairman Partners for Electoral Reform and a board member of IAGA. Ezenwa, nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
All right. We're also joined tonight by Engineer Yaba Gisani. He's the Chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. And as you would also recall, he was a key participant in the just concluded elections, being the presidential candidate of the Action Democratic Party, ADP. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Siri. Thank you for having me.
Right. Well, the 2023 general election, we've witnessed everything about it, and we can say it's all but over now, except for one or two places which will be taken care of. But generally, it's done. So how would you assess the entire process, as it were?
Well, I think I like to borrow the words that I saw from the opener. There is a mixed grill. It's a mixed grill because you could compartmentalize your analysis in three ways. First is the pre-elections, then the E-Day, and the aftermath. So pre-election environment was clear that our candidate selection process threw up some challenges, and perhaps that's the only way we can have choice. The choice must come from the candidate selection process. So the internal party processes within the political parties itself gave us the choices that we have, and those choices have come in the way that we have the four dominant, if you like, and then the other political parties who also in different places had some good showing in the different aspects of the election. But for me, is that the choices that we had were such that there are no new people. We had, especially for the dominant political parties, most of the players are people that we already know that we could then assess. So that's for the political parties. The electoral management body had ticked all the boxes: preparation, engaging political parties, engaging civil society, engaging media, bringing everybody up to scratch as to the preparation, especially around the voter registration issues, collection of PVC, and the routinous updates that we continue to have, and the promises from the electoral management body that it will create a enabling environment for the election to hold in a free, fair, credible manner. And then for the security agencies, we also had the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, and especially the lead agency, which also raised expectations as to the fact that they were going to guarantee law and order and peaceful elections. And then the electorates themselves were primed to do what they should do, which is voting. So we will then begin to analyze the different players, you know, but at the topmost of that pyramid is the electoral management body. In my view, I think it's in the presidential election of the 25th, it discharged its duties within the conditions, the environment that was presented to it, in a place where you had cashless conflict. I like to call it a conflict because at the point we didn't have money, there was no fuel. Anybody who didn't know that that was going to pose challenges was probably not in tune with where we are. So the Naira redesign affected INEC vendor relationship in a way that we saw that logistics became a big challenge. Posts did not open in many places when it should, and the general crisis that we saw in terms of what that meant, where posts had to be extended in several places. But by our own report, both from Yaga Africa and many other civil society organizations, the infusion of technology, especially the beavers, performed creditably well. And so the glitch, now the new word, which is the glitch that we had in the transmission, the result transmission process, became the sore point that everybody has held on, that, you know, the promise was that we are going to do this in real time, and that was not to be. Even though now most of those results are now in the IREF, but the whole idea of real-timeness of that is the challenge for INEC for the 25th. But for the governorship election, I think lessons were learned. Every other report, including ours, has been very, you know, gratuitous for INEC in terms of saying that there was a remarkable improvement in both logistics and technology, and the sore points again is how much the returning officers and the electoral officials understood the process. In many places, it didn't appear they understood how to interpret the rules and regulations guiding. But all of this come together for INEC. I would think that they've done creditably well. For the political parties, they continue to be absent in conversations about reform. They are the ones who will trigger the ethnic, religious, incendiary comments that nearly, you know, mad the process. They are the ones who will create violent environment, siege mentality. They are the ones who will resist technology. They are the ones who will get into voter suppression, colluding with unscrupulous INEC officials when they have the opportunity to do so. And they have also not learned to be able to engage in a way that shows that we are maturing politically. And that has to do with their own challenge internally as political parties. And I think that is something that we can explore much later. For the security agencies, it didn't look like they were on top of their game, in my view, because the spate of violence that we have seen in several places could have been avoided through adequate security provisioning, intelligence, and collaboration. But even in some places, we saw that soldiers and police are even in daggers drawn. So there was territorialism. So the whole idea of access did not manifest. It looked like it's a ritual. It didn't show in the coordination and the outcomes that we're expecting for security. For the voters, they are voted. And when you vote, it's like being part of a football team. When your team loses, you find all the things that have gone wrong with the process and hold it there. You want to kill the referee. You want to think that, and for those who won, they are out there celebrating. You know, that for me is sums up where we are.
All right, we'll look at all these various aspects in greater detail. But let's go to Yaba Gisani, the IPAC chairman, and get his thoughts on the entire process so far, generally.
Well, thank you very much. First, I would like to congratulate Nigerians and really salute the courage, determination, and the commitment to moving this country forward by particularly the voters, because the exercise, of course, like it has been concluded almost, and I think Nigerians went through a tortuous, process, but because it's nation building, they were able to put up with it and come out triumphant in the sense that we still have Nigeria as one indivisible country. We have winners, as usually is the case, and we have losers. And of course, I salute also the commitment of the losers in the sense that most, if not all of them, have resorted to what is in the process itself. I'm talking about the legal framework, for the process, which is to seek redress, in a civil manner, and that's what has been happening. So that's why, as IPAC chairman, I would like to convey, the appreciation of the political parties to Nigerians, because it's one thing to start a journey, it's another thing different, to complete that journey safely, and I think we have landed safely as far as this is concerned, and for that, I'm sure posterity will have a lot to say about these crops of Nigerians. So because the playing field was not ideal, when you look at the expectations that most people went into these elections, like my colleague here has said, INEC was able to check all the boxes, and then not only Nigerians but also the international community had a lot of confidence in the process itself because of the umpire who has come out with that commitment, fierce commitment to delivering free, fair, credible, inclusive election. And everything was there for you to see. The involvement of the new technology, that's the innovations brought into the process, and the fact that as far as resources are concerned, they were not short of resources. But again, the election itself, I'm talking about when the election itself was taking place, especially the first one, there were a lot of disappointments, and then again, that is part of everything that is done by human beings. You always have to have some shortcomings, and when you look at it against the background of what the essence of that process is, you will be able to, like we have done, accept and then move on so that we can make amends where necessary. And then there was an opportunity after the presidential election where a lot of disappointments came because of what happened. The gubernatorial election and State House Assembly elections, that presented again another opportunity for INEC. And I think they tried, they tried really to prove that, yes, they are up to the task and they are ready to deliver to the people of this country a free, fair, credible election. That's why you find that not only the two dominant parties today, but we have NNPP that has also been able to secure one of the largest cities, in the country, that is Kano. You have the governorship there, Of course, other states, there are still issues, but like I said, those issues are not beyond the capacity of the system, because we have accepted, as Democrats, to go along that internationally acclaimed path of peace. And what is very important, and we didn't lose sight of, is how do we keep peace? How do we have peace in this country? Unfortunately, lives were lost, properties were destroyed, but those were, in some few cases that we have that situation. So all in all, we can say that as a nation, as a country, we have proved that we've come a long way, and that leadership position which God has given to us as a country, not only on the continent of Africa but globally, we rose to the occasion, really, and I think that is one thing that we have achieved. Yes, we must have, criticisms, constructive criticisms, and that's why we would like people to come up with areas that they see us failing or we failed, so that we can make amends. Because what is important is to move on, and like I have always said, democracy is a journey. We have achieved some milestones. We move on, don't forget, even the father of democracy, the one we are practicing here, which is the presidential system, which is America, United States. I remember the election between Al Gore and Bush, and they had, situation like this. That is in I think is it Florida or where? Where the Supreme Court had to come in, to decide on this, in the interest of the United States of America, So it's not something that is unusual what we are going through now. And even the recent one, the Trump, the last election, still some issues are still coming up that are not what you can say is in tandem with a mature democracy, should be battling with now. So that tells you that what happened in Nigeria is not unusual. What is important is the capacity to really be able to move on in spite of whatever might have happened, and take advantage of it by ensuring that because that's how, in fact, you get incremental, improvement in a process like this, which is a social process. It's not mechanic, it's not something that's a it's not a mechanistic system where you can just take this one and put it here. It's about human beings. It's about a process. It's about a system. And so I would like to appeal to Nigerians to continue to bear with the pains of building a very strong nation, which this country is a promise of. Because we have everything. We have resources, human capital, the size of the economy itself, and who we are. So recruitment of leadership is very important, and we have a process. We have completed this process. We should be able to use what we have to get what we want, and what we want is how to say it, maybe a great leap forward in terms of our economic progress, and in terms of uniting the country, in terms of really showing that yes, a leader in terms of anything that you want to talk about as far as governance is concerned, as far as people are is concerned. So our assessment is that so far so good. It's not the best, because there are so many things there that we must be able to address, and I'm sure the Judiciary, which is the last version of Common Man, I expect them to really do the needful. And the needful is to bring about some discipline, because it's about discipline. It's about people knowing that you can't get away with, things that are not, or at variance with the law. That if you commit crime, you will pay for it. And because if there's no punishment, we would have lost all the things we have gained in this process so far. So now is the time of judiciary. Let that confidence be there. Let people believe that, yes, it's not about only participating in elections. It's not about somebody declaring another person as the winner. It's about you having a recourse. That's having, the system accommodates, your position, even if it doesn't, align with what the in this case the INEC may have done. You still have a recourse. You can still go to the court, and the court will be there for you. So that is one thing that I think this system needs now, is the judiciary to wake up, rise to the occasion, and then where something has gone wrong, no matter whose ox is God, let the judiciary give us something that will strengthen, this democracy.
All right, thank you so much. Ezewa, back to you. And you listed a number of aspects of the election. I'd like to start off, go straight to the voters. And this is because the key thing about the entire process was the encouragement of the voting public to come out and exercise their franchise freely on the condition that their votes will count. To a large extent, did the votes count?
The votes counted. The votes counted because the votes that we have counted for different people in different ways. For a voter is not oftentimes immersed in understanding the process because he has an idea of who he wants or who she wants. He gravitates or she gravitates in that direction with passion and enthusiasm. And so outcomes can become very disappointing for people who invested that level of emotion. And so once it works in their favor, then for many the process has gone very well. If it didn't go in their favor, then the process didn't go very well. So the investment of time should be in how did we vote? The people who should put the platforms for voting, did they do what they should do very well? Because if you are looking at that one, then you will begin to first need to distill what are the motivations for the voter. How is the voter responding to the outcomes eventually? Is the voter matured enough to understand that in spite of your expectations, that it can go the other way, and that it is about what the majority of the citizens who are also voters want? So, for me, therefore, in the presidential election, you had about 8,000 people voting for the winner of the election. You have another 14 million and 8 million. You have another 14 million voting in different ways. And together, the 14 million, the expectation of that 14 million did not, overshoot that of the 8 million. So you have over 14 million people who are angry all over the place, who think that their expectations were not met. And so, and like I keep saying, if you are walking on the streets, you are likely going to meet, if you meet 10 people, out of that 10 people, about 5 or 6 of them will be likely among that
14 million.
14, yes. So my sense, therefore, is that we are in a journey of democracy. And part of the learning is also understanding and managing expectation and loss. Because there is not a lot of investment in that area. And that is why you have the kind of, challenge that you have. Not many times have we taken the pain to know that when we go into a process that we're going to lose. So, like I keep saying, if INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, puts a situation in which there is a level playing ground for votes to be cast, the outcome will not be too important for process watchers.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that, but for the IREV, that is the result transmission process, which, as at now, there has not been an audit into what actually happened. We can conjecture, we can make guesses, but whether it is internal sabotage, subterfuge, or unintentional glitch, we are not yet clear. But whatever it is, I would rather say that for voting and accreditation, all the reports that we have has said that it went well. And there is nobody contesting that. Where all of us are is that why was it not transmitted real time?
Okay. That's as far as the presidential
election is concerned. The governorship election has come, and even that presidential election threw up mixed bags in terms of how you interpret the process. If you check a place like Nasarawa, for instance, where the SDP had a good showing in the presidential and national assembly election, and the Labour Party also, had a good showing, it will show you that the people of that state had a clear understanding of how they wanted to vote, and their votes counted. The reason I'll say their votes counted is that the dominant political party chairman comes from that state. The governor is also from the ruling party, and yet the people voted the way they voted, and their votes were not annulled. If you flip back to where we are coming from, because we are coming from somewhere, this journey didn't start in 2023. We are coming from a place where you didn't even conduct elections. Today we are conducting competitive elections. That is why there is this level of contestation. In that period, there is no contestation. The results are now, people write results, announce them, and then just simply tell you to go to court. But today now, you have opposition political parties winning elections in places that are very, where you could have thought that that would not happen. In the governorship elections, we have seen results that outstand everybody. The deputy senate president is part of, in the ranking, they say he's number 4 in the country. He's losing to an opposition political party in his state when he's a member of a dominant political party. So these outcomes are things that we should celebrate, because it was imponderable just some few years ago that some of the outcomes that we are seeing now is possible. Those are gains. But like the chairman of IPAC said, every election is an opportunity to harvest new lessons for reforms, for things that needs to be worked upon. But where I have a challenge is to think that once the outcome does not favor, then you are not going to take time in looking at whether that process itself has produced things that are of redeeming feature for the kind of reforms that we are looking forward to. So for me, I would say that the voters, their resilience, their doggedness, their commitment, their passion is commendable, as has been said. But when it comes to what then comes out, it depends on which side of the divide you are.
Okay.
And that is
I suppose in the same vein, you could flip it the other side and say, even you talked about those whose expectations did not come to fruition.
Yes.
And then the idea is that there's a lot more concentration on the things that didn't go well than those things that could be celebrated. If you flip that over, yes, same thing for those who achieved the success which they expected, it would also seem that there's an attempt to discountenance, once it has been favorable, discountenance those things.
No, that's why I'm saying that it is for us in shaping the narrative to put out a balance for people to see that you don't, because you won or because you lost, there has to be an interest in seeing what went well, irrespective of which side of the divide you are. You can be on the losing side, but you can agree that in spite of the fact that we lost, there are things that went well. For you also who has won, you must agree that in spite of the fact that you won, that there are things that didn't go well. And we have had examples of that. We had example in President Yar'Adua, who had won an election and came out to say, hey, the process that brought me to power was flawed, and that we need to do something about that. So it's not that there are no examples. He won the election, but he said, look, we need to get into reforms, and we had the justice ways. But having said that, it is also very important to understand that the win-lose thing needs to be managed. And I tell you, I read a statement by a senator-elect who won in this SDP that I'm talking about, and when we were all condemning the election, he said everything went well. That he thanks the people of Nigeria, he thanks INEC, he thanks that. So you can't push him. If he had lost, then there would have, and there was a conversation. The electoral process does not end until there are judicial interventions. Exactly. It's also very important to know that the judiciary is also part of. That is why you have election tribunals. That is why you can go to court. But in spite of that, we must also not start the same narrative, because you want to go to court and you're already saying that the judiciary is corrupt. But you want to go to that, you are already laying a template that if it doesn't come your way, if the decision of the judiciary does not come your way, you are already saying, you must come from a mindset where you even believe that the process itself is not rigged against you, even if that is what you are thinking.
All right. Well, as we all know, it happens all the time. People go to court, they get a favorable decision, and they hail the judiciary that it's the last hope of the common man. They lose, and they say the whole judiciary needs to be overhauled, and but it happens. But let's go to the other aspect of it, and that's the segment that Isn't talked about, that they are not there when it comes to reforms, and that's the segment that you belong to, Sani Yabagi, the politicians and the political parties. Yeah. What is your assessment? Now, this is asking you to take a hard look. As you are Chairman IPAC, certainly you've seen a lot of things.
Yes. Well, again, you cannot completely remove the political class from the entire population and our own ways of doing things. Unfortunately, the issue of corruption, the issue of ethnicity, the issue of all those dichotomies, religion, regionalism, and the biggest one, the biggest elephant, is the power of incumbency. And the fact that when you look at the system itself, this has to do with the constitutional reforms. You are talking about reforms. We must find a way by which we will not have all the agencies of the government that we look up to for free, fair, credible elections to be appointed by one individual who is also an interested party. So you can go from the judiciary to the INEC chairman, to the police, to the military, and to everybody you want to talk about. So we must take a look at how we appoint these people. When you look at the INEC itself, it's so bad that even the REC, I'm talking about the man at the state level, is appointed by Mr. President. So you find that everybody is at beck and call of one individual who, often than not, is also interested in the process. So when you now come to the politicians, political parties, okay, how do we operate outside this institutionalized environment? It's either you are in the ruling, party, or if you are in the opposition, you have a war chest, a lot of money you can throw around. If you want us to talk about the realities, those are the realities of the situation today in this country as far as democracy is concerned. So this is why I said we need to move on, because it will not continue to be like this. It will not, in spite of all the things that we are not happy with that are happening. And we seem to be helpless, because of the constitutional reforms that have come out, except for the Electoral Act 2022, even the Electoral Offences Commission bill that was before the National Assembly, up to now, is still there. It hasn't come out. Perhaps it may have addressed or reduced, some of the infractions we are talking about today, which is use of money and other infractions that normally militate against what we can call a free, fair, credible election in this country. So for political parties, believe me, we are operating under a very, very, very difficult, situation. From the government of the day to our own dichotomies, that is beliefs that we have, these new symbols that we are bringing, I call them new symbols because if you call Action Democratic Parties new, it's not like, the Yoruba Cultural Organization or the Ohana Cultural Organization or the Nupia Foundation, which are our own, cultural organizations, that others have cultural organizations and things like that. These are new symbols, the parties are new. So, and people do not find it, safe to completely divorce or separate from themselves from those traditional, organizations which they belong to. So this is why when you now come out as APC or PDP or whatever, it's just there. That's why people say, oh, you don't have ideology, you don't have this, you don't have that. No, you have, but because you are competing against something that, unfortunately, is part and parcel of the individuals that you are trying to bring together under a new organization called political party. And when you go into elections, like from the primaries, if you look at it, all these things rear their heads. the ethnicity thing, the religious thing, the regionalism thing, and all these things, they determine, what political parties, did during the primaries. And it also came into the general election itself. So the political parties, believe you, are not finding it easy, but the fact of the matter is that we must go on, because we know that the only way is forward, not backward. And like the bicycle theory, we can't afford that. We can't stand still, otherwise we'll fall. So we must move, no matter how difficult it is, for the political parties. You talk about, parties, the funding of political parties is one thing. And the people say, no, you shouldn't fund political parties. Fine, you shouldn't fund political parties. I agree. But don't talk about money bags hijacking the process. Because unfortunately, democracy in some climes like this is like luxury. Luxury in the sense that this is somebody who perhaps did not have, breakfast, or maybe he slept with empty stomach yesterday, and he woke up, and then here you are. You want him to go now and decide for himself, and somebody is dangling maybe as little as 5,000 naira, And I'm talking about majority of Nigerians, not just a few. And democracy is about the people, isn't it? It's about the votes which we are talking about, which will be cast by these people that are battling with this abject poverty. And you want the man not to be able to, you say, oh, okay, decide, this is the man I want. Yes, there are some cases like my friend here has said, SDP was able to get about, how many? 2 senators or something like that. Yes, but that is not the general, situation that we are battling with. So what do? I will repeat it again. We must go on. That's the most important thing. Because as we go on, reforms, like you are saying, will come, because we will now have this incremental improvement in the process by the experience that we are having, and we will begin to address those things that are militating against what we are aspiring to have. Like I said about the power of incumbency in this environment is important. And like somebody was saying, well, power of incumbency depends on what you do with it. If you are in power, if you use it well, people will vote for you. But if you use it wrongly, you have another problem. But there's one problem. People always like to heap all the blames on political parties, and we are ready to accept.
All right, we have a number of reports, and let's see this one. It's from Lagos.
Governorship and state assemblies election in Nigeria is an opportunity for the electorates to choose those who will pilot the affairs of the state for a 4-year term. Against this background, the turnout for the just concluded elections was expected to be massive, but instead, the total number of votes cast in Lagos, for example, was just 1,173,631, as opposed to the more than 6 million PVC collected in the state.
I don't know why people are not coming out, because the last one, we had a lot of people here by this time already.
The electorate have commended the ease and swiftness with which the beavers machine worked.
The beavers, perfect. The right thing to do, we're in the right direction.
Analysts say it is a positive for the process, as the governorship and state assemblies election was an opportunity for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to correct some glitches experienced with the beavers machine during the presidential election in most parts of Lagos.
If the INEC, continue to work on this process, voting in Nigeria will become easy, and everybody will be interested to vote.
I expect people who go into office to try to fulfill their promises, because if they don't, at the next election, they will become ordinary.
The polls were not free from pockets of violence, as this was recorded in some areas, but quick intervention of security operatives in the state put the situation under control, and stop them from degenerating.
Next election we're going to have is 2027. So what I would expect from our security agent is to also carry out an assessment of 2023 elections so that we'll be able to give us a beautiful 2027 election. So far so good. Lagos has been peaceful and still remain peaceful.
At the end of every contest, a winner must emerge, and for Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has been declared the winner of the polls.
It's time for all of us to roll up our sleeves once again and push on to the development agenda of Lagos.
And for the dissatisfied parties, they have hinted that they would likely be heading to the courts. In Lagos, Kende Adebisi.
Right, that report from Lagos by Kende Adebisi. Our next report is from Kano.
Governorship election in Kano witnessed a keen contest as the two major political parties in the state ran neck in neck. This was in view of the fact that the state happens to be a stronghold to the ruling APC and the base of the new Nigeria People's Party, which enjoys the sympathy of the Red Cap movement known as Konkosia, led by the presidential candidate of the party. In this presidential election, Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso.
It has always been the case that competition in Kano for gubernatorial election is very fierce, and
the election was greeted with serious apprehension, looking at the accusations and counter-accusations from contending political parties. However, Independent National Electoral Commission and security agencies, among other key stakeholders, took strategic steps towards building the confidence of all parties involved. On the election, from distribution of election materials to the opening of polling units and the proper security management, all have contributed to the successful conduct of the governorship election in Kano, as noted by electorates and other key stakeholders.
So far, no complaint. We have worked here together with the INEC staff. The exercise is orderly and is satisfactory. As far as we are concerned, we have no complaint.
I can see there's it's a peaceful election as I can see, and the way I'm seeing the process is good because there's a due process. Whenever you come, there's nothing like harassment or fear in your mind. So it's a peace. Even the atmosphere, it is okay.
The election is now over. Winners are celebrating their victory at the polls with the high expectations. It is the prayer of many that the elected officials will reflect on that and work for the common good of all. Amin Umar.
All right, that report from Kano. And back in the studio here is well, it's a lot happened, even in the build-up to the elections, where certain challenges, you mentioned some of them, beginning from the primaries, the process that led to the eventual candidates as we saw. Now the elections are over, and it's time to look at, as you say, what could have been done better, celebrate what was properly done, with an eye on the future. But again, the process isn't complete, and we might well see another round of contests and contestations from the law courts. In all of this, what should the people be looking out for?
Well, the courts will not stop the process, because those who have won the election will be sworn in, and while the court processes continue. So he talked about, the chairman talked about power of incumbency, and that also is a huge challenge, because if people have been sworn in and immediately they are sworn in, they have assumed a different status. They are no longer, and that itself creates an imbalance, yes, in terms of
because they are now.
Yeah, so those are some of the things that we will have to look out for. But more importantly is, whatever it is, election is not an end; it's a means to an end. So the fixation on election needs to ease off after elections to now where we are discussing what are our expectations from those, whether they are going to a march through the court or through the elections. What does Nigeria want at this time? What are the issues that confront the majority of Nigerians? I think that is where we are moving to. We can learn all the lessons. Those lessons are not for this election anymore. They are for future elections. But in between now and the future elections, we have to be alive. We have to live. We have to govern. We have to prepare ourselves. And in doing that, we can take one or two things that can help us to drive that. For the political parties, our expectations for them are not so much as a people. Whether you are positioned, if you are position party, you lead by pass of personal example. If you are the one in government, there are expectations that we have of you, that we want to see what you're going to be doing with education, with health, with transportation, with, social security and insecurity. How will you be addressing those issues? Those are some of the things. If you are opposition political party, the idea is to be opposition. And it's a very simple thing to, in some sense, be a shadow government in terms of holding government accountable, the position government accountable. That has been our source in many clear terms, have been our source to media, civil society. We raise issues, if you remember, when the appointment of resident electoral commissioners were being filled, 19 new resident electoral commissioners. And we came out and said, some of these appointees have partisan backgrounds, they are inexperienced, they are this and that. We went to the National Assembly, articulated those issues. Who are those in the National Assembly? The politicians. The political parties themselves absented themselves from that conversation completely. They pretended they didn't know we were talking about the fact that if you get this right, there was in the National Assembly, the only reason why they passed those people was that we didn't come by way of affidavit. They were not questioning the authenticity or veracity of the claims that we are making. They say, oh, you didn't come with affidavit. Now, most of that is showing in the states. In the states that we had touchlighted, INEC is taking very drastic measures in most of those states. The Sokoto, Abia. Sokoto is one of those states that we flashed. That this person is like this and like that. So it doesn't cost anything. When we insulate ourselves from, pushing for the things that eventually will come to haunt us. When it starts haunting us, some people can fold their hands and say, but we brought out an EMRI, Election Manipulation Risk Index. First iteration, second iteration, third iteration, a scanning tool for both political parties, and say, look, the possibility of manipulating election, there are 6 indicators that we brought out. Those 6 indicators are in the public space. The political parties, expectedly, especially the opposition political parties, should then come to you and say, these things you have raised, what can we do with them? How can we partner? How can we work together? That's not happening. Now, look at situation rooms. Every political party comes with, we have our situation room. If Yaga, civil society situation room, CDD, we bring the media to our situation, we bring the media to come and see what we are doing. Not one political party will invite you to say, we are tabulating results. Because you can also do parallel vote tabulation. And you can put that out in a way that citizens can connect to it. You come to the National Collation Center empty-handed. Your agents have signed in the polling units. Whether they were manipulated to sign or they were paid to sign, your agents have already compromised you in the polling unit. Then you come to the National Collation Center and put your hand like this and say you've been manipulated. And then people are excited. They are looking at you. There are no, because you have not done your own due diligence, except in one or two cases where you see that. So the work of building the political party will inspire citizen confidence also that there is an opposition that can deal with those for funding of political parties. The chairman knows where we are coming from. He knows what happened, for which we agitated that should happen. It happened, but it was, as many other things in our country, abused. We are people who, you now had Eze and family political party, the same amount of money that you are going to, and even those monies really have no bearing on building, administration and structure for political parties. The history of political parties also did not just start with the new symbols that my chairman talked about. Those new symbols are important, but this APC, PDP, they are 20 years old, and there are history of what they were doing before that they abandoned. I keep talking about the fact that the PDP had a PDI, a People's Democratic Institute, that was having workshops, conferences, building the capacity of its own party bureaucrats. But as soon as, the military, the people who had this military background invaded that party, they elbowed everybody away and those things. So the point for me is that we must reinvent the political parties in a way that they become a veritable tool for holding government accountable. And then you support comes from civil actors. They should be in the vanguard of it. I expected that when the appointment was made, they should be leading it, and we will be following them. But as we speak today, some of us are in court. We have been taken to court by some of those people that we defamed them and all of that. But nobody is interested. So the point for me is that active citizenship with active opposition political parties will put the government in power in a place where they can know that they cannot just do anything and get away with it.
Well, at this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll expand this conversation and we'll look at post-election period. What should happen? A lot of tensions in the air. The fault lines, which people always talk about, it would seem that those fault lines have been widened and the cracks are deeper. And a lot of citizens are hurting. What happens now that the elections are done? We'll talk about that when we return.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. We start up this segment now with another of our reports. This one is from Port Harcourt.
The 2023 electoral process was full of intrigues, ranging from mode of campaign by political parties, their stand on who to support, to high expectations of the electorates as a result of the introduction of bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS. Analysts are of the view that Though tribal religious sentiments could not be ruled out from the voting pattern, the electorates, for the first time since 1999, channeled their interest largely to competence of candidates and their manifestos, which motivated increased voter participation during the presidential and National Assembly elections.
In INEC official, they actually did their job very well.
I think they did the best job so far.
The inability of the Independent National Electoral Commission to upload presidential election results from the polling units obviously caused voter apathy during the governorship and state houses of assembly elections in Rivers State. This is in addition to records of violence and snatching of electoral materials at some polling units.
In the past, it has always been that your vote will not count. But the ones you were told that the beavers will make your vote count, you see the turnout. The governorship was fair. But do not also forget that there was so much apathy.
Future elections, both INEC and the politicians, they need to do better. But the key is to do the right thing at any time.
Although the winners of the governorship and state houses of assembly elections have been announced, the role of campaigns and efforts put in by political parties to convince voters cannot be taken away from the outcome of the 2023 general elections. In Port Harcourt, Robinson Derateide.
Right. Robinson Derateide from Port Harcourt. Well, back here in the studio, the IPAC chairman, a lot of issues were thrown up in these elections, and it seemed to get worse towards the governorship elections. The issues of ethnic, religious, and such, backgrounds played up to the extent that at some point, some Nigerians felt they were either not part of the places they were in, and this coupled with disenfranchisement of so many others. Now the elections are over. How do you begin now to get back a people who just a short while ago remained as one people and on the matter of elections suddenly became divided?
Well, I believe the spirit of sportsmanship will come in, and people will definitely eschew bitterness and look at the big picture, which is to focus on how do we really build this country to become greater than what it is today. I say that because we don't have an option as far as where you live, who your friends are, who you're associated with, is concerned. It's not so easy to make new friends or make new associates. So, human nature, you will adapt. But even at that, the opinion leaders, the political leaders, the elders have a lot to do in terms of speaking in a way that will deepen, that brotherhood, and for us to know that this is something that it's a stage, in building democracy, and that is the election. Election comes and go, but governance is something that I believe can also do a lot in assuaging these ill feelings that was built up as a result of the bad things that happened during the elections. Like the president-elect has said, he's going to form a government of inclusivity. And I believe that is to say that everybody will have a sense of belonging in the government. Of course, I'm not saying that merit should be sacrificed, no. But I know that if you look into every sector of the society, or different segments of society, you will find competent people that can represent, that interest, because, like it or not, Nigeria is a collection of nations. Like we have talked about, all these dichotomies, the sentiments. The only way you can, reduce, that is, attenuate the divisive, effects of those things, is when government, or now the president, take it as a matter of duty to build and have people to have sense of belonging, that yes, it's about us, it's not about them, it's not about APC, it's not about the Yoruba people, it's not about the Southwest, it's not about the South, it's about Nigeria as a whole, that regardless of who you are, if you're a Nigerian, you should have that sense of belonging. So I believe once that is done, we'll have started addressing the issue of all these, problems that have cropped up as a result of what people did or what they didn't do. That's the only way. I can't see any other way by which we can solve the post-election issues that have come up. It's up to the government. At the state level, you find the governors, and you can see the kind of cutthroat competition, the desperation. It's because governors are like emperors, in their states. Except now, that's, I think you must give kudos to the nice National Assembly and also Mr. President for signing into law, those bills that I understand, like the one on judiciary, making it independent, and the one on the local government, for them to now become virtually independent, and issue of things that have now been taken into concurrent list, like railways, electricity, and things like that. That will go to also challenge, the governors who hitherto were hiding under the excuse of saying, no, it's government, it's federal government, it's not. Now it's your responsibility. So I believe, and there will be that checks and balances that you need, in the act of governance, which up to this moment is like completely absent. Everybody was in the pocket of the government, of the governor. The House of the State House Assembly, the Judiciary, the clerics, the traditional rulers, everybody. The man is just an emperor. That's why in fact it's even better for you to become a governor than to become a president, because there you do whatever you like. So, but now with these amendments into the Constitution, the signing of these things, I think is also another thing that will help in quickly solving some of these problems that you saying that how do we solve them?
Well, at this time, we'll open the phone lines, and you can get to join in the conversation in the studio. The numbers to call will be on your screens, and if you're calling in tonight and your call gets through to the studio, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV set. That's the way to avoid the echo or the hurl back. And we also encourage you to go straight to the point and ask you not to bother so much about greetings. Just a mere hello would do. So the numbers will be on your screen. You can take advantage of those and call in and be part of this conversation. Well, it's amazing, isn't it, that Nigerians will celebrate Nigerian citizens who are elected into positions in other lands, in Europe and America, and we celebrate them, and we're so happy that all Nigerians are making inroads in the political space of other nations. Yet, back home, we quickly remind people where they're from once it comes to elections and things like this. And we tend to tell people to go back to their homes, their ancestral homes, and that they're not part of it. Does that make sense?
It couldn't. It can't make sense. It will not make sense, and it shouldn't make sense. And it's not just in politics. You know, one of the big challenge I have for public commentary in Nigeria is the tendency to always think that a phenomenon has just been invented. You cannot be Vice Chancellor of University of Nigeria and Nsukka today if you are not Igbo. That's the current situation. You can't be VC of University of Ilorin. It's even been narrowed to the point that if you are not even from the Emirates, it's getting to that point. You can't be VC of Obafemi Awolowo University. They are not even ready to tolerate Osun if you are not Ife. That's how funny. The people who do that in those places are the same people who want a different thing somewhere else. You do, if you are a civil servant in Abia State and you are from Imo State, we have had a situation in which they say, go back to your, Igbo. In Anambra election in 2021, in 2017, there were no Muslims in Anambra State. Okay. Right? Predominantly it was the Christians. They dug down to Catholic. If you are not a Catholic. We are always inventing exclusionary things, and then we come out somewhere else and begin to pretend that we in our places.
Okay, let's take this call quickly and then we'll return to that. Our first caller tonight is James calling in from Delta. Hello, James. If you're there, go right ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm very happy about the program. You see, what I want to contribute into the issue is that Nigerians, youth of nowadays, they are not like the olden days that they will talk something in the television or in the news, radio or newspaper, they will believe. Many of them are seeing those things. Truly, if our elders and our leaders, they are deceiving us for years, they should have it in the back of their mind that we that they are deceiving for years, we have now grown up to the state that we still understand that they are still deceiving us. Let the truth be told that with the situation of this country today, as we are suffering, things are hard, things are so difficult in the present government now, then they will still let people say that this government regime now is favourable to everybody, both the poor, that the poor people will be happy to still continue with the present government, of which is no. So I never see anything that is good, that is a change thing that will make them to see that they have won this election. APC, they won the election. The Labour lose the election. PDP lose the election. You see what? The good thing that they are doing is what we after. We don't care about other things they are doing over there. But what we need that a good leader, they should know that we need a good thing. Everybody needs a good something. They should remember that in the office they are in position, those office, they are to serve us. They are to do a good thing that will give us joy. That's what I want to contribute into.
All right. Thank you very much, James. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right, James from Delta. Yes, everyone. We go back and find out and find a way to exclude others. We always invent these reasons.
No, it's always there. in the student unions, student union, in the University of Jos, if you want to be, you have to be Birom, or you have to. It's that deep, and nobody is having a conversation around that. So we must come to a point where we free ourselves. You know, once you want advantage, you create things that disadvantages other people. If that same thing works against you, we were here when people mounted pulpits. They stood on pulpits and castigated, called people's names. Nobody called them to the other. Prophecies, people will sit down and say they have prophesied that Isiabajida will be president of Nigeria. And if he's not president of Nigeria, that there will not be any Nigeria. Nobody. No, we saw those things. The security agencies did not monitor those things. They did not care. Then Oro came out in Lagos. You now want to die. In what way is it different from you who was prophesying and telling your people this is the direction that they must vote? And even when elections have been concluded, you mount your pulpit and say the outcome of that election, that God has not ordained it, and so it will not stand. You become God. So we are just dramatists as a people. The point that I'm making is that if we want to remove those things, we have to have deeper conversations on our ethics, on our values, on the processes through which people ascend power.
Okay. Yakubu from Gombe is on the line. Hello, Yakubu. Go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm Yakubu Auta from Gombe. I want to make some observation and comments on Mr. Ezenwa and the chairman IPAC. In fact, the whole thing they are discussing there is precisely a true picture of what a Nigerian citizen is all about. We always create problems where there is no problem. Mr. Ezenwa made some analysis which, to be frank and to be sincere, that is exactly what an average Nigerian is up to. So the truth of the issue is we have to tell ourselves the truth and do the right thing at the right time. So these are the simple and the little contribution I want to make. And I want to congratulate the two of them there. I've been on this program right away from the beginning to this moment. In fact, all they are saying are just true picture of what a Nigerian citizen is all about. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Yakubu from Gombe. Thank you. Well, Chairman IPAC, must this continue? Now the elections are over, and we're beginning to see that some have even said that we have worsened the situation and thrown up these divisions. And how are we going to now begin to mend fences once again?
Yeah, still, you know, human nature, time heals. And I believe that by the time the swearing in is taking place, people are, you know, reaching out to each other. You know, human mind, once you can make some the person to understand that it's not, you haven't lost completely, you know. It's about all of us. So I'm sure those things will take place. And when it takes place, it will douse the tension to an extent. But like Chief Ezenwa has said, you know, we must not allow the lessons we have learned, you know, just to disappear like that. You know, in the sense that, yes, the process brought by INEC, that is the innovations that were brought in, technological advancement, the legal framework that we have, those, nobody has any issues with those things. But the operators, so part of the lessons is that I'm sure INEC by now must have reports on some of their staff that were found wanting. You know, and if they deal with them in the proper way, to serve as deterrent to the rest, it will go a long way to make the process to be more successful than what it is today. Because it's about, like I said, our environment. Our environment today is so corrupt. If you go into the government, even private sector, even houses, private houses, and simply because government did not deal with the issue of corruption the way that especially Nigerians expected this particular government to deal with the issue of corruption. And that has given this belief that, well, nothing will happen, just let's go ahead. So if INEC could show example of their staff, because yes, there are cases, and I'm sure it will help in making the process going forward to be what will give us, what we're aspiring to have, which is an ideal kind of situation, or something near ideal, even if it's going to be an ideal situation. So going forward, all of us have a role to play. That is ensuring that we political parties, by Thursday, we're going to have a meeting. Definitely, all the political parties, we're going to have a meeting. We're going to discuss some of these things, and then of course see where we have also gone wrong, what we didn't do right, and then what INEC did, which is not right. So I'm sure with that stock taking and some kind of postmortem analysis of what has happened, lessons will not be lost. Will be used. We'll use it to move on. That's why I said we must go on.
All right.
That's the most important thing.
Back to the phone lines. Jeremy, I believe, is calling in from Benue. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening. I want to contribute from what my elders are saying in this program. You see, the problem we are having in this country is nothing but religions and ethnic problems, like what the Shaman IPAC is saying. Yeah, even if you have won, that is quite understood. You carry everybody along to quench the anger that is in everybody's mind. But I still want you to understand that no matter whatever I have done, the pain or whatever I have put somebody's mind is in that mind already. There's nothing you can do to remove it in total from that person's mind. Another thing is this, that, the problem we're having in this country is started from the elders. Elders in this country bring that criticism or that religious sentiment. Because many a times we tell our people, we only come to television or newspaper and speak to be one. But in their mind, inside the room, they are telling people another thing. That is the only problem we are having. Because if they are telling me in the television, I can't believe you. What you are saying in the paper, I cannot believe it. But when you go inside, you will say another thing from that. It's so, we pretend so much. And that's not how it should be. So God, even if we as individuals don't know hold the elders accountable, God himself will hold them accountable because of the religious sentiment and what they are bringing, especially tribalism, is so much in our country. Whatever thing they are saying, there's no amount of things anybody will say in television that is acceptable by millions of Nigerians, because they only say it insidely. They say another thing, and it is what they say inside is what you see why he's explaining in what he's explaining. If you go to Lagos State, if you go to Igbo, and you go to Northern, and if you are not their tribe or their religion, you are automatically not going anywhere. So it's what the elders have initiated, what they have put on ground, is what is spoiling the country. So I think the elders have a lot of work to do now. Whatever you say public, when you go inside, you say it. Because you cannot say something public, you go inside, you say another thing. So peace will not reign. And the unity will not be there. So my earnest prayer to the president-elect that just like what the chairman of IPAC said, it should carry everybody along. Forget about this one vote me or didn't vote me. When you carry everybody along and make everybody to belong, that you are for everybody, without saying I'm for everybody, I'm not for everybody. So when you do it, you will surely quench some anger in people's mind. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Well, as I recall many conversations we've had with you, you always insist that things go wrong because people are not held accountable. People don't do their jobs and they don't get punished for not doing their jobs. Now, I want us to reflect on how this played out during the elections, the just concluded elections, where in some cases it was clear, it was evident that rules had been broken and law enforcement agents were witnesses to this and nothing happened.
Well, first, let's start with INEC. I think that INEC has shown forthrightness more than any other stakeholder in the election environment in terms of sanctions. For his own staff, it had suspended 2 resident electoral commissioners right in the mix of this whole thing. It didn't wait for post-election audit. It took a step and said, look, excuse us. You can't be part of this. And those people are fighting back. Because it's a shocker that a public institution will do that. You know, that's what you are seeing in Abia. That's what you are seeing in Sokoto. So that's important. Number 2 is the power of review that all of us brought into the Electoral Act. As we speak now, Ado Dogua was the House of Rep person in Kano, who has been confirmed, obtained that result by intimidation. INEC immediately, it didn't wait.
Okay.
So this needs to come out. It did not wait. It took a position immediately and said, look, having forced our returning officers to give you this result, you cannot proceed.
All right. Let me ask you to hang on a moment. You will return to that. Yakubu from Katsina is calling in. Hello, Yakubu. Go ahead.
Hello. Good evening, Siri.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being with you this evening to share my view on the postmortem of what is happening or what has happened in the recently concluded election. My opinion is that Nigerians are now matured in terms of the processes of selecting who to lead them. One thing that we must not forget is that we have seen where if you are talking of sectionalism in politics, it doesn't work anymore. If you are talking of religious kind of a politics, that doesn't work anymore. Because if you look at what has happened between the 3 major parties, or 4 if I may say, the APC, where Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged from the south, and when you look at the majority of the voters, he succeeded in cutting across the whole nation. That tells you it's not about regional. And when you are talking of religious, when you look at the Labour Party as well have succeeded in getting some significant amount of votes, even in the Connaught, where Muslims are predominantly more. And in this election that has just finished recently, You will also see a situation whereby in some states, this will serve as a lesson to us. When you look at a state where a sitting governor of a PDP loses against his opponent's party, that tells you that the voters are now wise enough. They are being choosy of who they think is competent to lead them. When we take an example of a state like Taraba, where the three parties struggled to gain leadership of the government, the APC, the PDP, has Christians as their governorship candidate. When you look at the population of Taraba State and you say you want to superimpose it as a ratio of Muslims to Christians, one may think Muslims decided now to have another candidate in NNPP for them to weigh their value, to see whether a religious politics will work. I think our voters are getting wiser by day. And some of the mechanisms set by INEC are very good mechanisms, especially in terms of mitigating against some foul play in politics, in voting processes. I think this is a very good process, and we are growing by this. And the violence in most of the states are not too obvious that one will be, complaining about. I think voters are getting more educated by day, and the processes are getting good. This is just my contribution, and I wish Almighty God will make those that succeeded in the leadership to be sincere, to be up to the standards where they will be able to serve their people better. And God bless Nigeria. May God continue to make us together so that we continue to be as one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Ezema, back to you. Yes, and appropriating sanctions.
Yeah, so I was talking about INEC and what they have done in the midst of not waiting till afterwards.
Yes.
That is inspiring, and that needs to come out as a public institution. And I think that it also, for a public institution, is also very quick in responding to, criticism. The flags that it took during the presidential, it came out in the governorship to work very hard in spite of the internal challenges, because you can't take it away. We've said it on this program. There are INEC officials who were going about shopping solutions to different politicians as to how they can assist them. And we called them out and said, look, INEC, you have to take appropriate steps. During the PVC collection period, they reared their head, and the rest of them. On NTA here, we were showing how people were set up, touts to help, process PVC collection. And on TV, it was shown, and we were calling out, and the investigation was conducted. I don't know what. So that's for INEC. But the security agencies, we have continued to make this point, and I won't stop, because once you have defensive public relation, anytime an issue is thrown at you, you have excuses as to why it has to be the other person and not you. Oh, the people, you were here with the DIG operations. He said, no, we can't be talking, it's the people. If the people conduct themselves well. And I said, people are not ordinarily meant to conduct themselves well. That was why there is law. Law is set up because there is an understanding that people will misbehave, whether here or in any other part of the world. It's your law and order regime that reins in people. Even in places where we celebrate, people still break traffic lights in the UK, in America, but they are charged immediately. There is no begging anybody. There is no. So here, what we have heard is there is no. You can't pin anything on service delivery outcome and value for money, for the security. So people will go into a polling unit, beat up people, dehumanize them, carry ballot papers, scatter them, and walk away freely. There is a DPO who is in charge of that area. There is deployment within that area. In the outer layer, those who are armed, and then within the polling unit, those who are not armed. There is no coordination between all these people. Nobody, not one person. If you say in our Agor Palace that people came out and beat up voters, you saw it on television. As we speak today, nothing has happened. In Bauchi, a serving commissioner was on a polling line sharing money with policemen surrounding him. Every TV station in Nigeria has shown that photograph. That commissioner is not anywhere being taken question. The policemen that helped him, nobody has it. All of these things show impunity. You would, if you say, they say, oh, we don't no evidence. The evidence has not been, we are investigating. If you ask again, they say, okay, we will, you know, it is INEC. The INEC will have to call, invite us. If INEC does not invite us, we cannot do anything. And you and I know that, yes, the Electoral Act empowers presiding officers to be in charge of their polling units. But you have overriding power given to you by the Constitution to enforce all laws, including the ones that are done during election. And you abdicate those responsibilities, and then we move on until security provision is tied to value for money. What do I mean? All of those people who worked in these elections were paid allowances. What was the allowance paid for? The allowance was paid for you to do something. I was not paid allowance to provide security for Nigerians. You have been paid an allowance to do so. If you didn't do so, then there has to be consequences. And everybody continues, oh, okay, let's, we did our best, and all of that. Your best in this situation is not good enough, because we have had, in this election alone, the governorship, we had over 200 critical incidences. In the presidential, we had over 131 critical incidences. So those critical incidences are a reflection of the kind of security provisioning that we had in this election. Even if one person died, it diminishes all of us. We cannot say, oh, you know, the number is very, the number of people who have been brutal, pockets of violence. If you see the way they describe it, they say, yes, there was pockets of violence. It has meant human life. People have died. According to the observer reports, over 21 people have been killed in the course of this election. And it is through violence, suppression, intimidation that the law enforcement agents are supposed to deal with. And nobody is going to, no inquisition, nothing, no panel will be set up. If we go on like that, we are not going to get anywhere. And that's the point that we have kept on making in this program. That I hear people now use it, that I keep saying consequence management. There has to be consequence. You have to talk about sanctions. When people do the wrong thing, what are you going to do about that? If you don't do anything, there is no deterrent. People will not be afraid. It comes to the mindset issue that both of us have always discussed. The mindset of our people in the during election. The problem I always have is that the way Nigeria has been structured is that the people who complain now were themselves people who perpetrated the things they are complaining when they were in office. So there is a textbook of how to behave when you are in power, and textbook of how not to behave when you are out of power. Both of them, it should be that when you are in power, you behave in a way that creates that situation that we are talking about. But what do we have? Because the PDP ran this country for 16 years.
And there is a history. Don't anybody who is pretending that it doesn't exist. They ran this country for 16 years. What were the structures that they put in place that have that people can unlearn? Today now, no matter what you say, this president gave us an electoral framework with which we are now interrogating election. We didn't have it. We didn't have any. So the Electoral Act 2022 is the basis on which we are talking about margin of lead. You are now discussing whether it was kept, whether it was observed, whether it was not observed. All of those things is from your electoral framework. And it was initiated, whether you agree or not, he signed it. Today, this same president has created a competitive election. This is the first president that opposition will win election. He will be the first to take his phone and call that person and congratulate the person, irrespective of what his party feels. These are things that we should put in the front burner and let people know that there is also examples coming from somewhere. If the governors and the rest of the people follow this, look at, for instance, in some states, the State House of Assembly, you are taking 27 local governments. You win 27 local governments because you have kept the money, you use violence, you use money, oppress the people, and those who have responsibility to call you to order are the enforcers. They are the enforcers of those things. And if you say so, they say, oh, you are not, you don't understand. And sometimes you ask, what is it I don't understand? What's really that I saw a commissioner sharing money and you know that is, if he did it 300 meters away from the polling unit, you will say he was doing charity. But this one was on the polling line, and the Electoral Act is very clear on that. There were security people, armed security people, protecting him to perpetrate that diabolical act on the line. So until the IG, until the DIG operation do what is necessary, let us know that that man has been questioned and other people who have been arrested. Oh, many people have been arrested. Many people have been arrested. We are processing it. We are investigating it. After this time around.
Well, as we begin to wind down on this, the elections have come and gone, and they say, well, elections are just one small bit of it, no matter what comes at the end of it all. There are serious issues, and those who have had the opportunity of being entrusted with leadership now have to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. Which is the real issue immediately after the elections? What are your thoughts?
The economy. The economy. How do we grow revenue so that we can quickly maybe forget about this debt, piling up? And how do we ensure that inflation is also contained? How do we ensure that employment, it's the order of the day? Because we have a ticking time bomb in the youth that have finished school, waiting to be engaged, and there's no job for them to do. So I think the coming president must hit the ground running, must engage those that can think out of the box, because this economy is one of the easiest one that you can really, manage. I say so because what you require in terms of resources, human capital. We have young, dynamic, human capital, population. We have in abundance, fabulously. You talk about oil and gas, you talk about solar minerals, you talk about agricultural potential, you talk about the people themselves. That's the capital, the human capital, infrastructure development. So all these things, and Nigeria is so blessed. Believe me, we don't suffer these natural disasters like other climes. And so this is what I think, from the president to the governors, this is what they must do. How do we grow this economy? How do we increase revenue? How do we plug those financial leakages, especially in the oil and gas sector? Because we must tackle those things before we can really begin to say that you have a government. And the Constitution says that you must provide welfare of the people. You must provide security, We are battling with insecurity today at the level that it shouldn't be. Because if you have grown the economy, if people are responsible and are accountable, like Chief Ezewa has been saying, power must be held to account. If you hold power to account, definitely something will happen, and good things will happen for the people of this country. So elections, recruitment of leadership is one thing. Governance is what it is, and that's what will bring peace. That's what will reduce restiveness. These people saying we want to get out of Nigeria is because leadership was not performing in the way that everybody expected Nigeria to perform. So this president has his job, work cut out for him, which is to grow the revenue of this economy. And it's very easy to do because we're making so much money from the oil and gas, from other areas of our economy, that all that you need to do is to block those leakages. There are financial leakages so much in our economy because corruption has not been tackled in the manner it should be tackled. We don't have a situation where we are not organized in the way we're supposed to be organized, especially where it matters. So, and this can be done. Nigerians are the ones doing it for others. Like we were saying, you mentioned that when Nigerians get into position of responsibility in other climes, we clap for them, we praise them. It's because Nigerians have what it takes, in terms of go-getter, spirit and things like that. So we must engage Nigerians. This government must hit the ground running, growing the economy. That is the most important thing that we must do. That's how we will even get those who have lost the election that perhaps will have some comfort, and they will be part of and parcel of what we are talking about. We have too many people that are poor, and that's what is growing the insecurity. So revenue must be, economy must be. Our GDP should not be growing at the rate we are growing. We have the capacity to grow at a faster rate than 2% or 2% that I'm talking about. So these are things that can be done, and these are things that we must do.
All right. Is there one of your closing comments?
So this is an agenda-setting thing, perhaps, that you are getting into. I think Chairman Yabaji made the point about the economy. But as I was listening to him, I'm just wondering whether I've not heard what you just said before. I've heard, in the same way you said it, I seem to have heard it like in the last 30 years, in terms of, somebody has been elected, they should hit the ground running, the economy, the unemployment. So we are running cliches. The real practical thing is that we need to get out of the IMF, World Bank, prescription of how to run our country. This is about one of the countries where you can virtually scratch natural resources. Go to Nasarawa. Columbite is mined by Asians and locals in Nasarawa State. But that is not reflecting in Zamfara. Their gold has not created the golden Zamfara. In the Sokoto, down from that Zamfara-Sokoto axis, the phosphate deposits in that whole place, nobody is nearing that side. In my own area of the southeast, insecurity has become a ploy for not doing anything. Every money that comes to the southeast, except perhaps Ebonyi, has become insecurity. It has become security vote. So what needs to happen quickly is to harness the resources that we have for the benefit of our people. Examples have been shown before. The likes of Mbakwe, when they were there was Avutu Poultry in Imo State. There was the palm oil. There was Concord Hotel. These people left things that the citizens can use to. Today, nobody is doing nothing. The governors are absentee governors. They live in Abuja. They visit their states. They are visitors to their states. They come in and get out. They are not in the states. And when they even finish governing, they don't live there. They come back to the place where they are. So we need to harness resource that is available in our country for the good of our people. Benue, a reverend father has been elected. and there's excitement in Benue. But how will it amount to cottage industries that can harness all those fruits that you drive from Lafia down to Makodi, down as you are going to Obudu? You see fruits everywhere rotting away. How can we create industries that can produce fruit juice and we will not have to be importing? In the plateau, how can we use the resource of plateau? The carrots are everywhere, the flowers are Kenya runs its economy virtually on flowers that is exported. Who is dealing with that? What then happens is that every month, Commissioner for Finance and Accountant General from the state and the governor, they are here. They take money back and then do what they like. There are no civil society, no civic engagement that can hold them accountable with those things. If we are serious, that's what I'm saying. We have done a lot of platitudes. We will take the next 1 year telling people that we didn't know that the rot was this deep. We didn't know. They will organize workshop training for everybody, and then 1 year will go. Nothing will happen. In the second year, they start thinking, plotting how to come back, and we are where we are. We will still set this agenda. Let us talk about public education. Public education. What do we want to do with our educational system that will inundate, remove it from strikes, perpetual strikes? What are we going to do with health? What are the National Association of Medical, Nigerian Medical Association? What will National Association of Registered Doctors? What is their document of engaging the government on the issue of health? What is NUT going to be doing with the new governors? Are we just going to be seeking appointments? Because that's where we are now. The next level now is to seek who will be appointed into what, and then we do Thanksgiving, all the Thanksgiving that is going on everywhere. When people's heads have been broken, you broke people's head, you are doing Thanksgiving, no shame. So if we have to proceed in the next 4 years, we have to have civic platforms that can hold people that have been elected accountable and get them to do the work they are supposed to do for our people.
All right. Thank you so much. At this point, we must thank our guests and you too for being part of it all. Ezenwa Nwagu, Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reform and Board Member, Yaga Africa. Thank you for being part of this. It's always a delight to hold these conversations with you. Thank you so much once again. I
appreciate you.
And our thanks also to the IPAC Chairman, Engineer Yaba Gisani, who played an active role. And by the way, there's so many people who would ask, well, you were a participant there, you ran for president, and so you were perhaps in that unique position to say, yes, because so far we have not had the ADP fighting out anything.
Well, like you rightly said, I occupy a position where I cannot but advance the cause of democracy.
All right.
And I believe that, like Chief Ezewa has said, the process has made enough, room for us to ensure that we build a solid democracy for this very, very beautiful country. That's why, we always come out when it is about building democracy, strengthening, deepening democracy. As IPAC chairman, that's what I must do.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah,
thank you. And that's our program. Thank you too for being part of it. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Continue to stay safe.
This week on Executive Discourse.
You're taking on surgeries. Yes, every surgery comes with a measure of risk.
Absolutely.
But you're taking on transplants and surgeries that are high risk.
Absolutely.
Very, very high risk. And which, even for me, I didn't think were possible in Nigeria. How have you been able to achieve this?
What it was able to get together people of like minds and people with the necessary experience. Every single person, from the cleaner to the top surgeon, were all Nigerians. And I think that is a great testimony. For the kidney transplants we've continued here, and we've done almost 100, over the 3 years or so that we've been here.
Yeah.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the You Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy.